My favorite 80s album covers. Hey, how are you? So today, I was going through my old cassette tapes, which I had in the 1980s, and I was looking at the covers and I thought, you know, I like these covers. I think I'll talk about them. And so that's what today's is. So I'm going to tell you my 10 favorite album covers from the 1980s. And then I'm going to talk about a bunch of other album covers from the 80s just to, you know, talk about it. So, and I've got some, we didn't have Spotify in the 80s. We didn't even have CDs because they didn't come out till the 90s, or at least the very late 80s. We had records and we had cassette tapes, right? So that's what I'm referencing today. Now, I have a whole bunch of cassette tapes that I have, and those are the ones I can show you. I'm sure there's album covers that I like that I don't have copies of, because when I was living in San Francisco, I had to sell a lot of my CDs and tapes to Amoeba Records on Haight Street so I could pay for rent. And I still have two big banker boxes full of cassette tapes from the 80s. And so let's talk about some of my favorite album covers. And I'm going to start with my favorite first. Journey. This album is fantastic, and the album cover is fantastic. It's Journey's Raised on Radio. I mean, Journey, you know, Don't Stop Believin', and all the other songs that I can't think of right now. But I love this album cover because there's something about listening to the radio at night that really appealed to me, because we didn't have podcasts. And so on school nights, or any night growing up in the 80s, I would lay in bed and fall asleep listening to the radio. And I would listen to Dr. Ruth Westheimer give advice to people as I was falling asleep. And it was also very educational. But I love talk radio, even back in the 80s. And so that's what we had. And sometimes, every once in a while, if it was a clear night, I could pick up a radio station because I was in Oregon, I could pick up a radio station maybe in Northern California or Washington if you got it right. And so, you know, this cover, you know, of listening to a DJ at night, and it's very clean and crisp and clear, and I like the colors, and blue is my favorite color. And so there's just something beautiful about this cover, that this is just my favorite cover. And when I put on the CD and I listen to Girl Can't Help It and Positive Touch and Suzanne and Be Good to Yourself and Raised on Radio, and this is such a fantastic album that I just absolutely love it. And so this is my number one favorite. My second favorite is Billy Joel's Turnstiles, which I also have on cassette somewhere. And this is the CD cover, and I also have the album. And the reason I like this is because when I look at an album cover, I want to know what the album is about. I want to see the theme, the mood, and I want to know what band it is or what singer it is. And, you know, on this one, there's no picture of the band, but that's okay. There's a mood about it. What I love about this is I'm a huge fan of Billy Joel. Billy Joel was my first big role model besides Batman. Because, you know, and I started playing the piano by ear and learning that way because I heard Billy Joel play Angry Young Man, which is on a different, it's on a different, is Angry Young Man on here? Yes, this Angry Young Man is on Turnstiles. So this is one of my favorite albums, where he's just like, and he's playing the piano like it's a drum set, and he's just banging it out, and then I mean, I'd never heard music like that on a piano. And you know, you hear piano, it's like a concerto and all this stuff. Billy just banged the crap out of that piano like it was a rock guitar or a drum set, and it just, that changed my life listening to this album. But the album cover, what I love about it is each one of these characters represents a song that's on the album. So this is this couple's like I Love These Days. This is All She Wants to Do Is Dance, and I think this is James, and a bunch of other characters on there represent each song. And I think that's really cool because you want the album cover to kind of tell you what the album is about. And it's about these characters. And that's a wonderful thing about Billy Joel is he could write. He wasn't just a songwriter. He was a storyteller who wrote stories in musical form. When you listen to the Piano Man, he's telling you a story about what it's like to be a piano man. And because he actually did that. And the people he described are the people that he actually saw in the bars when he was playing piano. And I just love this cover because it basically sums up the album. It's got characters. It tells you, I'm going to tell you stories about these characters. That's what this album cover says to me. And it's in New York, and Billy Joel and Springsteen told me what New York was like through song and music. And strangely, I've only been to New York once. And but I've listening to their music, I felt like I've lived there. I've experienced it. I know what it's about. So not totally, but of course, but through music. Anyway, my third is Paul McCartney's Greatest Hits. This came out in the 80s. I think. What year did this come out? This came out in 1987. And what's wonderful about this cover is that, again, it's got artwork or things or little art people that tell you what the songs are about. So even if you look in the inside cover, it's got pictures, it's got drawings that represent each song. It tells you about each song. And I just love that. I love artwork on the cover that tells you this is what you can expect. This is what's inside. These represent the songs. And so I just love this cover, and it's Paul McCartney. Freaking one of the greatest songwriters of all time. My fourth, this is actually in no particular order, sort of, but going this far. Starship, Knee Deep in the Hoopla, which is a wonderful name for an album, I think. This is just such a 1980s cover. I mean, here they are. They're characters. I mean, it's kind of like Turnstiles, they're characters. But it looks like this is the band as characters, as drawings, but looking really cool and really 80s, and it just looks like a total fun fest. Hoopla tells you that it's going to be a party inside. And I'll tell you, when I was writing my novel, Passion or Pancakes, the blue one back there, listening to Sarah and We Built This City kind of took me back to San Francisco, and I don't know. This has a lot. I used to listen to this album so much in the 80s. This came out in 1985. And this may have sparked me wanting to move to San Francisco because it's got that little bit in We Built This City where it's got the DJ from San Francisco talking about San Francisco traffic. And it's just, I don't know. I love it. This is Roger Waters' Radio KAOS. And the cover is Morse code. And the back cover too. And I remember sitting down and actually looking through a book of Morse code and figuring out what this Morse code says. And I believe it says Roger Waters' Radio KAOS. And I think it says some other stuff. But this is a concept album. This is a fantastic concept album that talks about a radio DJ in Los Angeles. Good Lord. It's such an involved story. But basically it talks about don't do nuclear war. This is what it's an anti-nuclear war album. Talk with a radio DJ conversing with someone who talks through a monitor named Billy, who calls into the radio station, and they talk and he plays songs, and it's just a really interesting concept album. It's really one of my favorite albums. And so, but I think that's just a really cool cover, that it's just Morse code. All right. Brothers in Arms. It's eye-catching. It's really cool, but it tells you it's going to be a rock album because it's got a guitar on it and it's in the sky and it's, I don't know. There's just something about this cover that you look at it, it's like, yeah, that feels right. It's simplicity. There's something about simplicity, like with this cover. It's simplicity and it's blue. I like that. But there's something beautiful about this cover that I like. And it kind of makes you want to pick it up and look at it. You know, when a cover looks really confusing, I'll give you an example of what I think a bad cover is. This is Genesis. You know, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, and I can't remember who else was in it. But there was a game in, I don't know if it's still around, but in the 80s was a game called Perfection, and you had to put all these little pieces into the corresponding holes before it pops up and all the pieces fly everywhere. And that's what those little pieces are. But this tells me nothing about the album. It tells me it's yellow with pieces. And Genesis usually is a concept album, and I'll give you another example that they did of their album covers. I don't like Genesis album covers. This is Invisible Touch. Okay, it's got a hand, and it's got some weird thing that the hand is trying to touch, and I don't know, just put a picture of the band. Just put a picture of the band. That'd be so much better than this weird artwork. I just don't like these covers for some reason. So, okay, so this seems like a really complex cover to me. It's like, it's, you know, it's, okay, I'm gonna go there. I don't like the movie 2001. I like other Kubrick movies, I just don't like 2001, because I don't get it. It's just confusing, this whole ending. I just hate the ending of 2001. And this kind of reminds me, it's like, what is this? I don't understand. There's a difference between art that leaves you questioning, wondering, and then there's art that just leaves you confused. And I don't like art that leaves me confused, and I'm confused by this. Whereas this is simple. This tells me it's a rock album. I'm going to listen to it. And it's a cool picture. This is just a close-up of pictures from a board game. I don't care. Anyway, just going on my rant. Anyway, I like Brothers in Arms. Aha. Hunting High and Low. I remember I got this album for Christmas, and my parents or my grandparents gave it to me. I like Aha. And it's got Take On Me, and it's got what I like, the song that I like is better, that's on side 2, is The Sun Always Shines on TV, which I think is a great song. You should go listen to it if you like Aha, for sure. And really good album. And I don't think I've listened to any of their other albums. But I really like this cover because there's something about, I don't know, there's the band. It's black and white, so it stands out different. And he's doing some kind of motion with his arm, which makes it kind of look ghostly or supernatural, or something interesting is going on. And I've always liked this cover. I've always thought it was cool. Anyway, there's that. Sports by Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis, man. Huey Lewis was as big as Coldplay. Huey Lewis, I mean, and this was their album. They had done Huey Lewis and the News, then they did their album Picture This, and then they did this one. This is the third album, I believe. And it's got Heart of Rock and Roll and Heart and Soul, I Want a New Drug, Walking on a Thin Line, If This Is It. I mean, it's got a whole bunch of hits on it. And it's sports. And I'm not sure what sports has to do with the album. But, you know, it's still a cool album cover. Because I think this was taken, they're a Bay Area band near San Francisco. And I think this was taken in a bar that they hung out in Northern California. I think that's true. And I think that's kind of cool. You got the band, and this is their roots, man. This is where they go to get inspired. And so there's something cool about that. At least I think that information is correct. But anyway, it's a cool cover. I saw Huey Lewis in concert in 1987, 88. And Bruce Hornsby opened for them at the Memorial Coliseum. It was a pretty good concert. Anyway, next is Belinda Carlisle, Heaven on Earth. And there's just something again, it's blue. Do you see a theme? I see a theme. I just love this album cover. It's mystical, and it's got cool lighting, and it just looks supernatural. And I don't know what it has to do with Heaven on Earth, but it's a cool album cover. Anyway, some album covers, they just, they speak to you on a non-intellectual level, and sometimes you just respond to it. Whereas I respond to this, and I don't respond to this. And I don't know, not sure there's any rhyme or reason why. And I think the final 10th one is Madonna. The thing about this album cover, it was shocking. This was 1984. I was in middle school. And I think this is 84. Yeah, 1984, Sire Records. Madonna had put out her Borderline album with Holiday and Borderline, and then this is, I believe, her second album, Like a Virgin. And this was, it just sets a tone, it sets a mood, it tells you what to expect. It's classy and yet provocative, and it just grabbed everybody's attention when this album came out. I mean, this album, Madonna's Like a Virgin, was as big as Springsteen's cover, Simplicity. You know, I understand this is a classic cover, and it's sort of rebellious because he turned away from the camera. And then, you know, this is another classic cover. I'm not sure this counts as an 80s album cover because it was also part of a movie, but, you know, this is a classic. Simplicity. I mean, you see this, and it's funny. But, you know, Madonna's Like a Virgin album cover was right up there with all of them. And let's see, what else do I have here? Breakin was a cool album cover that I like. I never saw the movie, but it was a fun album. Miami Vice. Oh, this was a cool. It's got the Jan Hammer instrumental songs that were in the TV shows. It's got the original main theme. It's also got Smuggler's Blues and Glenn Frey's You Belong to the City, and of course In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. And I used to listen to this album a lot. And I'm not sure you can get it on CD. I don't know if you can. And then speaking of Phil Collins, his face is on all the album covers. So he was part of Genesis, but then he went solo, and I think all of his solo albums have his face on the cover, which is fine. It's like, oh, there's Phil Collins. Another Phil Collins album. And it's consistent, you know? Okay, his face is always going to be on the cover. That's cool. You know, consistency, but it's going to be a different way each time. And I kind of like that. It's kind of a cool concept. And the other albums that have, you know, the person's face or the singer, Madonna, I can't remember the photographer who did this. Very famous photographer who did this album cover for True Blue, and it doesn't have the album title on it. It's just her picture. You know, the album title's on the side. But yeah, Madonna's True Blue album. This one came after Like a Virgin, and then other ones that have, you know, just the person's picture on there. Robert Plant, Now and Zen. This is a cool cover. I like this. It's got a mood. It's spiritual, man. But it's rock and roll spiritual. And then there's So with Peter Gabriel, you know, In Your Eyes. One of the greatest songs of all time. Janet Jackson. This is a cool cover. It's not only her picture, but it's got some artwork around it. This is a huge album. I mean, this was right up there with Like a Virgin. I mean, so many hits came off of this one. Control, Nasty, What Have You Done For Me Lately, You Can Be Mine, Pleasure Principle, When I Think of You is probably my favorite song that starts with the piano. And I love the Janet Jackson album. Miami Sound Machine, it's got her, the 80s hair. Tiffany, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, that's them. I used to listen to. I mean, they were big in the '80s. Stevie Winwood. This was his 87 album, Roll With It, and Whitney Houston. This is a great album. It's got Saving All My Love for You, and a bunch of other great hits. So yeah, I don't mind it when the person's on the cover. That's great. That tells me what the album's about. I mean, there's Sting. He's on the cover. I think this is a great picture of Sting. You know, he looks deep in thought. He looks like the thinker statue, you know? He looks deep in thought, and this is a very philosophical album. And I love this album. This is, I think, Sting's best work when he went solo. I mean, yeah, and I went and I saw this concert of Sting. I think it was 1987 or 88 at the Memorial Coliseum. And yeah, he was great and very athletic on the stage. He was just, man, he was moving up on that stage during that concert. And then Bryan Adams. I love this cover. This is side 1 has one album, side 2 has another album. But the Cuts Like a Knife album cover, that guy looks like he's going to play some rock and roll. That's what that album cover says to me. He's got the leather jacket on and the cool guitar. It's black and white, and with a little bit of a, not sepia tone, but a little green tone to it, and I just love that cover too. More Journey's greatest hits. Journey usually had cool artwork on the cover. On all of their album covers, it's like Boston and Journey had really cool artwork on their covers. Wang, Chung, they're on the cover, and this album is called Mosaic. It's got, you know, everybody have fun tonight, everybody Wang Chung tonight. But Mosaic means it's like pixelated. That's what the look, and so their portraits are sort of pixelated. This is a good album. And then INXS Kick. This came out in 1988, I believe, or 89, and no, it had to have been 88. And I wish I would have gone to an INXS concert. This was their big album. I mean, they had another album, Listen Like Thieves, which was great, but this was like, oh my God, it's got New Sensation and Devil Inside and Need You Tonight and Never Tear Us Apart. And this, oh my gosh, if you want to listen to a great album, INXS Kick. And it's got, you know, I think that's cool. It's got band members on it, very simplistic, but you could tell it's rock and roll. And anyway, I love that cover. And then here's another Bryan Adams album. I don't know about this one. It looks, you know, he's deep in thought, but I don't understand what the river and the ship have to do with anything on this album. And I think it could have been a better, I mean, it's a nice portrait, but I think it could have been a better album cover than this, because Bryan Adams, so cool. This is a terrible cover. ELO. This is one, they had a song on this one called Calling America. But I think this is a really boring cover. I mean, it tells you nothing about the band. Show me a picture of the band rocking out, and I will probably buy the album. Or at least be more likely to buy it than just some, you know, generic artwork. So there's some other albums I don't like their cover. Don Henley. This is a great album. The End of Innocence album. It's got the song Last Worthless Evening, and I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but this is the story that I heard, that Don Henley was at a party and he was trying to, you know, flirt with Michelle Pfeiffer, and she wouldn't give him the time of day, and Jack Nicholson came up to him and said, you know, nice try, pal, or something like that, and gave him a hard time. And then Don Henley went home and wrote Last Worthless Evening about Michelle Pfeiffer. I could be completely wrong, but that's just an old Hollywood rumor. But this could have been a better album cover. He's crouching down by a car tire. It has nothing to do with the album. I don't understand. Why not do a better album cover? I mean, this is Don Henley. This is Boys of Summer. This is Sunset Grill. That's what he did. And he's going to put an album where he's just, you know, kneeling down with a cigarette by a car tire? This could have been so much better. I'm really going off on a rant. Okay, you know, this is a great album cover with the Starship. This is a terrible album cover with Starship. It's very 80s. It's got the grid, but they're all purple, and they're just sticking their heads out. I mean, what is this? Play your instruments. Just show me playing your instruments. Show me it's going to be a cool, fun rock album. I'll listen to it. I could have been more. Points on a Curve by Wang Chung. Wang Chung did the soundtrack to Live and Die in L.A., the movie done by Friedkin, who also did French Connection. And Live and Die in L.A. and French Connection have two of the greatest car chases ever in cinema. But Points on a Curve, that could have been a better album cover. Mr. Mister, the band's hanging out in a park. I don't understand what this is about. There's a horse. What the hell? Is this supposed to be dreamy? I don't know. I've never liked this cover. I thought it was kind of ridiculous. The Rolling Stones, Steel Wheels. All right, it's cool. It's got steel wheels on it. I don't know. It's interesting, but I would have liked a picture of the band rocking out. I'm not sure this counts, but Batman. That's with the bat symbol. You know, he's the plane is flying up against the moon. I'm not sure this counts because it's part of a movie, but this is great. Springsteen. He's just standing with a guitar. I like this better than this. Because he's standing with the guitar on the stage. He's rocking out, man. You can tell he's been playing, and I like this album cover a lot. Because this is part of his 3 cassette live album series, box set sort of thing that came out in the 1980s. Because all I had heard is this, but this told me all the other songs he had done before that I didn't know about. Okay, I'm going to rush through the remaining ones, which I guess are all Billy Joel. Oh no, one more. Christopher Cross. This is a great album cover. I don't know why, because it's pretty. And I don't know what Flamingos has to do with anything about, you know, his famous song Sailing or anything on the album. But I just like it. It's soothing and it's pretty. So Billy Joel is one of my favorite artists. 52nd Street, I don't know, it's gritty and grimy, you know, be in a jazz club and with your trumpet instrument that you're holding. It could have been about, I don't like this cover. Songs in the Attic. He's in the attic shining a flashlight on a piano. So, you know, pretty literal, but it's cool. It tells me what the album's about. It goes along with the title. It's okay. Glass Houses, I think this is a great cover. It's very rebellious and rock and roll. He's gonna throw the rock through the window. And the album, if you start with the album, it starts with the sound of breaking glass. And then he goes into, you may be right. But I think that's great because it has potential. It's like, oh my gosh, he's about to throw a rock. So it's got suspense in the cover. It's storytelling in the cover. You know, Billy Joel is all about storytelling. Of course, not here. He's just sitting on some steps. This is fine. It's okay. It's a nice portrait, but it could have been a better cover. Stormfront, okay. It's got the flag. So anyway, I just think this could have been a more interesting cover. Like The Bridge, okay? It's got a picture of a bridge, and I guess there's Billy way up on the bridge, but it could have been a much more interesting cover than that. And then the Stranger album, it's storytelling. It's him sitting by a bed with a mask. Does the mask represent, a long-lost love who left him, a love that he wished he could have? There's some kind of story, some kind of mystery or suspense in that cover. So I think it's cool. And the final one, Billy Joel's wife at the time, Christy Brinkley, I believe, painted this cover. And this is his River of Dreams. And, you know, it's one of those albums like Turnstiles where the artwork on the cover represents each song on the album, like Paul McCartney's. So yeah, there's different pieces of art that represent the songs inside of the album. And I love that. And it's a river of dreams going through the album. Some people really like this cover and some people really don't like this cover. So I'm more of a positive, upbeat person, so I like that cover. So anyway, those are album covers from the 80s that I like, dislike, have thoughts on, and I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think makes a good album cover? What album covers do you like? What album covers do you think are just freaking awesome, and the artwork is awesome, or the photograph is awesome, or it really says something about that album? And when you think of album covers, what sticks in your mind? What comes into your mind? Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts. Because music is cool and artwork is cool, and combining them into album covers. Album covers are cool, man. Because, you'd hang those posters up on your walls and you'd look at them all the time because you just love that album and you love the cover. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you think about album covers, and I will talk to you next week about something exciting. All right, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a great week. This is so much better. Why are they purple? I don't know. Why are they in the park? I don't know. And what are your favorite albums? I want to know. What album should I be listening to? All right, that's it. See ya.